This evening, Minister of Home Affairs condemns arson attacks on schools, calls for vigilance to protect education sector. Murder investigation launched after Belfield squatting area resident found dead. Minister of Labour focuses on upskilling workforce for growing oil and gas industry. In the region, Trinidad and Tobago to hold a national consultation on crime, and internationally, Germany would not block Poland sending tanks to Ukraine. Minister. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Updates. I am Vivi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, the Minister of Home Affairs, Rubison Ben, has expressed concerns over the recent spate of school fires in the country. In the most recent incident at Christchurch Secondary, 503 students, 39 teachers, and 9 ancillary staff were affected. This follows a fire at the St. George's High School in July of 2022, which affected 397 students, 33 teachers, and 4 ancillary staff. Minister Ben strongly condemned those responsible for setting the fires, stating that they had no regard for the future development of the nation's children. He also emphasized that the government and the Ministry of Home Affairs remain committed to assisting those affected by the fires. The minister also called on all agencies and citizens to be vigilant to protect and sustain the education sector, and reminded the public that there are severe penalties for arson attacks. He also recommended using smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, water sprinkler systems, and other fire prevention measures. In the last 2 years, there have been 4 school fires in Guyana, 2 of which are malicious. The government has provided aid to the displaced teachers and students affected by these fires. The Ministry of Home Affairs urged teachers, parents, students, and supporting staff of all schools to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities to the relevant authorities. In a shocking event, police in East Coast Demerara are investigating an alleged murder of a 47-year-old woman, Nazaleen Mohammed, who was found dead at Hope Lowlands Railway embankment on Monday, January 23rd. According to reports, Mohammed, a housewife from Belfield squatting area, was last seen alive by a neighbor around 7 a.m. She was leaving her home to visit her brother's residence at Hope Lowlands. However, around 8:05, her 32-year-old son received a call from her cell phone where he heard a male's voice, whom he identified as the suspect, and then he heard his mother shouting for her phone. The call ended shortly after. Concerned by her absence, a neighbor went in search of Mohammed. While walking along the railway embankment around 3 p.m., he discovered her motionless body floating in a canal with wounds to her head, ear, neck, and abdomen. The police were immediately contacted and the body was taken to a funeral home for a post-mortem examination. According to the police, several persons have been questioned in the area and investigations are ongoing. However, no arrests have been made. But the police revealed that they have received certain information regarding the case. The identity of the suspect is yet to be revealed. This tragic incident has sent shockwaves through the community. The police have urged anyone with information related to the case to come forward and assist with their investigations. In other news, the government of Guyana is ramping up efforts to regularize informal settlements in the country this year. According to Housing and Water Minister Colin Crowell, the minister stated that this initiative is a key component of the government's ongoing regularization program. He mentioned areas along the Suicide Highway that are being addressed following an intervention by President Irfan Ali. Other areas that will be targeted include Herstelling to Grove on the east bank of Demerara, which has over 341 informal settlers, as well as Success on the east coast of Demerara. Minister Crowell explained that the regularization process could include relocating persons living in the areas that are intended for future expansion and development. In these cases, the government typically engages with the affected persons and assists them during the relocation. The minister also highlighted the ministry's plan to strengthen the enforcement department and increase monitoring of public spaces. To achieve this, Minister Crowell calls on citizens and local authorities to assist in monitoring government reserves. The overall goal of the government's effort is to provide safe and affordable housing for all citizens in Guyana. Stick around when we return. Ministry of Labor focuses on upskilling workforce for growing oil and gas industry, and West Bank vendor charged with illegal possession of firearm and ammunition.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for do a surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brickdam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
Welcome back. The Minister of Labour, Joseph Hamilton, is working to create apprenticeship programs with oil and gas companies to meet the demands of the growing industry. In order to satisfy the expectations of the sector, Hamilton stated that the ministry would keep pushing to upskill Guyana's workforce. The program aims to develop the skills of young people and provide them with job opportunities in the sector. The ministry is also working on expanding training programs for tractor drivers and forklift operators, as well as signing a memorandum of understanding with the Art Williams and Harry Went Aeronautical Engineering Schools to provide comprehensive training for young people in the aviation field. This training will help them to transition into the oil and gas sector. In a recent development, a 30-year-old vendor from Phoenix Park, West Bank, Demerara, Joel Douglas, has been arrested and charged with 3 offenses by officers stationed at Breeding Hope. The charges include possession of firearm without a license, possession of ammunition without a license, and possession of narcotics for the purpose of trafficking. The incident occurred on Friday, January 20th, when a police sergeant, acting on information received, stopped an old model Ram motor car in which Douglas was an occupant at Versailles Public Road, West Bank, Demerara. On the floor of the vehicle behind the driver's seat, police found a bulky black shoulder bag containing a suspected Smith & Wesson 9mm pistol without a serial number, containing 3 live rounds of matching ammunition. The defendant appeared at the Breeding Hope Magistrates Court on Monday, January 23rd, before Magistrate Faith Magusti, where the charges were read to him. He pleaded not guilty to all 3 charges and was remanded to prison until February 14, 2023. Don't go away after the break. Brazil-Argentina summit to focus on trade, economic integration, and Australia-China relations. Countries seek to mend ties.
Sooner or later you will have another power failure. Are you prepared for the next blackout? Some essential equipment such as security cameras, lights, internet, gate motors, and water pumps may stop working. How can you prevent the next blackout? InverterTech has an affordable solution for you. A strong UPS system which uses the latest inverter and solar battery technology to prevent blackout. We smartly calculate your average power demand so you don't spend more than you need to. Call 223-2233 for more information.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop. Be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Hey, this is your fancy vehicle and it's your house?
Yes, this is my vehicle and actually I'm waiting on my land. I'm actually renting this house for $50,000.
$50,000? You head more? You crazy? You mad? You head no good? Why you buy? Look, let me show you the light. Come with me.
Come on down to Fabulous Homes today. Pay $50,000 every month for 36 months or until you reach 50% of your house costs. Move in after 75% of the cost has been paid.
This is wonderful. Let's go. Sign me up.
Alright, let me go and dash away your landlord.
To explore our home ownership program, check our Facebook page for more information or come down to our office at Avalon Friendship.
Hey, Chinese, thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
You got through?
Yes.
Call us at 227-1380 or 615-8740. Fabulous Homes International Realty, changing tenants into homeowners.
At Fabulous Homes, we bring your dreams to life.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said that the government will hold a nationwide debate on the country's crime situation as the number of murders this year has risen to 36. The survey will take place in early March, and Rowley urged people to assist law enforcement agencies in dealing with the increase in criminality by reporting wrongdoings to the police. In other countries, he noted, citizens play a vital part in reducing crime by supplying useful information to law enforcement organizations. Senior Superintendent Corwin Francis, head of the Northern Division, also cautioned parents that criminal gangs were trying to kidnap their children as officials investigate the murders of 3 persons, including 2 brothers, on Sunday. According to a report, 606 people were murdered in Trinidad and Tobago last year. Meanwhile, in South America, Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has promised to improve ties with Argentina, which became strained under his predecessor Jair Bolsonaro. Al Jazeera's Teresa Bo reports.
For decades, new Brazilian presidents made Argentina their first foreign trip. Jair Bolsonaro rejected that tradition, but his successor, Lula da Silva, wants to go back to the old ways and improve relations between South America's giants.
We have a history that united us. We have cultural things in common. We have to improve healthcare. We have to organize our energy developments. We have spoken about the benefit of Brazilian electricity. Dear Lula, this is your home.
Da Silva and Fernandes also discussed the possibility of a common currency to promote bilateral trade and reduce reliance on the US dollar.
Our finance ministers are currently working each with his own economic team to make us a proposal for foreign trade and transactions between the two countries that is done in a common currency to be built after much debate and many meetings.
President Lula da Silva also came to Argentina to participate in a summit by a regional bloc of Latin American and Caribbean nations. Brazil left this bloc back in 2019 during the government of former President Jair Bolsonaro because of the presence of Cuba and Venezuela. The presence of Lula in this summit also shows that he's prioritizing rebuilding the relationship with its Latin American neighbors. Among those countries was Venezuela. President Nicolás Maduro was also expected in Buenos Aires, but suspended the trip. The Venezuelan government said there was a plan of aggression against their leader. On Sunday, Venezuelans living in Buenos Aires said Argentina should not welcome Nicolás Maduro. Maria de Los Ángeles Mosquera left Venezuela 5 years ago. Her daughter had cancer, and there were no medicines to treat her.
How can it be that a democratic country will receive a tyrant, a person that's destroyed a country and has allied itself with Iranians and Russians? I feel horrible this is happening.
Brazil and over 30 other countries will be part of the summit happening in Buenos Aires on Tuesday. It's a regional bloc that will allow countries in this part of the world to discuss integration and how to best solve the challenges they face. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Buenos Aires.
Internationally, Australia and China trade ties are likely to be back to normal, with the two promising to mend relations after about a 2-year ban on commodity imports. The first shipment of Australian coal is reportedly set to arrive in China as early as next month. Al Jazeera's Sarah Clark reports.
It was this meeting between Xi Jinping and Anthony Albanese on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Indonesia in November that indicated relations between Australia and China were out of the diplomatic deep freeze. 2 years after Beijing placed an unofficial ban on Australian lobster, coal, barley, wine and beef, industry leaders are optimistic the next step will be the lifting of those trade restrictions.
We'd like to get it back there if we could. Live lobsters into China represented 98% of our trade for lobster alone. Plenty of comment going on about China opening up, and particularly with the trade relations improving.
Australia used to be the second largest supplier of coal to China. That ground to a halt in 2020 when the former Prime Minister Scott Morrison demanded an independent investigation into the origins of the coronavirus. Now, in a partial resumption of trade, 4 major Chinese companies, including power generators and 1 steel mill, have been cleared to import Australian coal.
Yes, we welcome the opportunity and we're optimistic that China will open its imports to us again, but we have diversified away from China, and so it will be very competitive in terms of being able to supply any orders into China.
Tariffs and bans imposed by Beijing have impacted Australian exports worth $14 billion a year, actions that are now before the World Trade Organisation. Canberra has indicated it would be willing to reconsider its case if Beijing lifts restrictions.
We shouldn't be overconfident, we shouldn't be complacent, we should continue to try to diversify our trade base and the like, because the geopolitical problems with China aren't going to go away in the short term.
Analysts say the rebuilding of political trust will also take time. Trade Minister Don Farrell will meet his Chinese counterpart virtually in coming weeks. It's the latest sign of efforts to try and stabilise what has been a turbulent relationship with Australia's largest trading partner. The ministerial meeting will be the first in more than 3 years. Sarah Clark, Al Jazeera, Brisbane.
And finally, Germany is ready to authorize Poland to send German-made Leopard tanks to Ukraine to help Kyiv fight the Russian invasion if Warsaw makes such a request, Al Jazeera's Dominic Kane reports.
A consignment of German weapons makes its way eastward. These are elements of a Patriot missile battery which is being deployed in Poland. They're being sent there to protect the Poles against malfunctioning Russian rockets that may miss targets in Ukraine.
Wir werden mit Polen jetzt ein zweites Einsatzgebiet haben neben der Slowakei.
Poland, after Slovakia, is now our second area of operations, and the training of Ukrainians on the Patriot system is also running simultaneously. Therefore, it only makes sense that for the time being, this deployment in Poland will be limited to 6 months, and then we will have to see how it will continue in the future.
But in Ukraine, the need is for tanks. Specifically, the German-manufactured Leopard 2 main battle tank. Many analysts consider it to be the perfect weapons system for Ukraine, which would give it a material advantage over Soviet-era tanks which make up part of the Russian forces. The Leopard 2 is in the arsenal of many EU countries, and several have said they want to give some to the Ukrainians, but can't without German permission. Since they manufacture the tanks, they hold the re-export rights. Now Poland says it is considering sending them to Ukraine even with no German authorization.
We will seek this approval from Germany, but this is a secondary issue. Even if we don't get such an approval in the end, we will give our tanks to Ukraine anyway, within a small coalition of countries, even if Germany isn't in that coalition.
For months, the Leopard 2 issue has been growing in importance in Germany. Many politicians from within the coalition and without are now arguing in favour of releasing them, including the foreign minister, who told French TV on Sunday, if asked, Germany would not stand in the way. Until now, the weapons systems Germany has allowed to be deployed to Ukraine have been predominantly defensive, but main battle tanks are mostly offensive instruments. Ultimately, the decision to allow German-made tanks to be used against Russian forces in Ukraine is one for the Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. This concludes today's Headline News Update. Tune in tomorrow, Wednesday at 7 p.m. for our next broadcast. For more news and updates, you can visit our Facebook and YouTube pages. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.